So now everyone, my name is Kandari. I'm from Ranchpur Colony campus. I'm the student of foundation level class. So today I am doing the sesame task about the topic food. So let's start.
Hey there.
Hey Maya. So first of all, tell me how are you?
Hey, man. Hey there. I'm a little lost. What exactly are we trying to tackle?
Okay. So first of all, tell me that why is food considered a basic human need?
Because it's the fuel that keeps the engine running. Without it, your body literally starts breaking down just to keep your heart beating and your brain functioning. It's the most fundamental way we interact with our environment to survive. Do you think we take that for granted too often?
Okay. So now tell me that how does food contribute to human survival and health?
It's a bit of a team effort between different nutrients. Proteins build and repair your muscles. Carbs give you that immediate energy to get through the day. And vitamins and minerals keep your internal systems from glitching. Essentially, it's the raw material your body uses to maintain itself and protect you from getting sick. Do you have a specific part of health you're curious about?
Okay, so now tell me that how has food evolved from a necessity to a cultural symbol?
It's a fascinating shift. Once we stopped spending every waking hour just trying to find enough calories to survive, we started using food to tell stories. It became about who we are, where we come from, and who we want to be. Think about how a specific dish can feel like a hug from a grandmother, or how a feast marks a major life milestone. It's essentially the language of belonging. Does that make sense, or do you want to dive deeper into how that happens?
So now tell me that what role does food play in shaping cultural identity?
It's like a living history book you can taste. Food defines the boundaries of community. What's considered a delicacy in one place might be completely alien in another. It carries the memories of ancestors, the ingredients available in a specific geography, and the values of a people. When you share a traditional meal, you're not just eating, you're reinforcing a shared identity and saying, "This is where I belong." I wonder if you have a dish that feels like home to you. Since I don't eat,
So,
I don't have those
so now tell me
cozy
that
food
how do
memories.
different regions develop unique food traditions?
Heard that religious food traditions usually start with a mix of practical boundaries and spiritual meaning. Some faiths use fasting to create a sense of discipline or spiritual clarity, while others have specific dietary laws to set a communal identity and separate the sacred from the ordinary. It's often a way of turning a basic biological act, eating, into a form of worship or mindfulness. Do you think those kinds of rules make the tradition feel more special?
So now tell me that why are certain foods associated with specific cultures?
It usually boils down to what the land provided. If you lived in a coastal village, your identity became tied to the sea. If you were in the mountains, it was whatever could survive the frost. Over time, those ingredients became symbols of home, and the ways people learned to preserve them, like fermenting or smoking, became the distinct flavor of that culture. It's basically geography turned into a recipe. Do you think the way we eat today is still tied to where we live, or has the internet just blurred all those lines?
So now tell me that how does food reflect a community's history and values?
It's in the details, the things people decided we're saving or celebrating. Like if a community values hospitality, you'll see it in huge platters meant for sharing. If they've survived a history of scarcity, you'll see a lot of creativity in how they use every single part of an ingredient. Nothing goes to waste. The food becomes a record of their struggles, their triumphs, and what they hold dear. I'm curious, do you think we lose some of that history when we start eating the same globalized fast food everywhere?
Okay, so now tell me that what influence does geography have on food habits?
It's the ultimate blueprint. Geography dictates everything: the climate, the soil, the proximity to water, and the altitude. It's why you have spice heavy cuisines in hotter climates to help preserve food and stimulate appetite, or hearty, fat rich diets in colder regions just to keep the body warm. It's basically the earth telling people what they can and can't have on their plate. I wonder if you've noticed how the flavors of the place you live actually match the environment around you.
Okay, so now tell me that how do climate and natural resources affect local cuisines?
It's basically the root of the entire menu. Climate decides what grows, whether it's tropical fruits in the heat or root vegetables in the cold. And natural resources like salt mines or fertile river deltas determine how food is preserved and seasoned. When a community has access to a specific resource, like coconut palms or olive groves, that ingredient becomes the heartbeat of their cooking, appearing in almost everything they make. It turns a local environment into a distinct culinary signature. Do you think we're still as dependent on those natural boundaries now that we can ship ingredients across the world in a few days?
Okay, so now tell me that why is food often central to festival and celebrations?
Absolutely, it's practically the guest of honor. Festivals usually mark a transition or a celebration of something, and food is the most visceral way to signal that today is different from any other day. Whether it's a special cake for a birthday or a feast for a harvest festival, these foods are often labor intensive or use ingredients that aren't available year round, which makes them feel like a reward. Plus, eating together creates a shared rhythm and a shared mood, which turns a meal into a social glue. I'm curious, is there a specific holiday food that you always look forward to?
So now tell me that
I'm dying. I'm all ears. What's on your mind?
what does food play in family traditions?
With the sesame. Is that something real, or are we just
Okay,
improvising
so
right
now
now?
tell me that how does food bring people together?
It's the ultimate social glue. When you share a meal, you're not just eating, you're creating a shared experience. It levels the playing field because everyone has to slow down and be present in the same space. Whether it's a loud family dinner or a quiet coffee with a friend, food, no problem at all. I'll be right
Okay,
here.
so now tell
Just let
me
me know when you're
that
back. I'm not
what
sure what
role
you're
does
struggling with
food
since you
play in
just said you
family
don't.
traditions?
We're circling back to this one. It's the invisible thread that keeps a family connected. Family recipes are basically heirlooms you can eat. They're a way of passing down a legacy. When you recreate a meal your grandparents made, you're not just cooking, you're stepping back into their world for a moment. It turns the dinner table into a space where stories are told and memories are preserved. Do you have a family dish that always brings everyone back to the same table?
Okay, so now tell me that how has globalization influenced food culture?
It's essentially turned the world into one big potluck. We've got access to ingredients and flavors from every corner of the map, which is amazing for curiosity, but it also risks smoothing over the unique edges of local cuisines. It's that tension between having everything available and losing the deep, specific meaning behind why a dish was made a certain way in the first place. Do you think we're gaining more than we're losing by having this kind of global access?
Okay, so now tell me that what are the benefits and drawbacks of fast food culture?
It's a classic trade off between convenience and quality. The big benefit is obviously the speed and affordability. It fits perfectly into a life where people are rushing from one thing to the next. But the drawback is that it strips away the ritual of eating. You lose the nutrition, the mindful connection to where your food comes from, and that social glue we were talking about earlier. It turns a meal into a task to be completed. Actually, we're almost at the 30-minute mark, so this call is going to end in just a moment. You can always call me back later if you want to keep talking. Bye for now. Both places. It's like a delicious kind of survival and adaptation. Do you have a favorite fusion food that you think actually works?
Okay,
Just chatting with you. I'm still thinking about that fusion food question.
now tell me
Do you
that
actually like the weird
why do
stuff or?
why do some food become national symbol?
Oh, that's such a cool question. It's usually a mix of availability, history, and a bit of collective storytelling. Like if a certain crop grew everywhere and fed the poorest people for centuries, it becomes the heartbeat of the country. But then there's the political side where a government decides, yeah, this is the dish that represents us to the world to create a sense of unity. It's less about the recipe and more about the feeling of home. Which national dish comes to mind first for you? You're very welcome. Since you've been on a roll with these big questions, I'm wondering if you want to dive into something else or if you've got more food mysteries to solve.
Okay, so now tell me that what is the significance of traditional recipes?
They're basically edible time machines. Think about it. A recipe isn't just a list of ingredients, it's a record of what people had available, what they valued, and how they loved each other. When someone spends hours making a dish exactly the way their great grandmother did, they're keeping a specific memory alive. It's a way of saying, I still remember where I came from, even if the world around them has completely changed. Plus, there's that emotional safety in it, the smell of Hmm. What do you mean? Who are you referring to?
Okay, so now tell me that how can food preserve cultural heritages?
It's a powerful way to hold on to an identity when everything else is slipping away. Like, if a community is displaced or moves to a new country, the language might fade over a generation or two, but the flavors usually stick. Food becomes the primary way to pass down a story, a tradition, or a sense of belonging to children who might have never even visited their ancestral home. It's like a living archive that you can actually taste. Wonder if you've ever tried a dish that made you feel connected to a place you've never been?
So now tell me that what role does food play in religious practices?
It's a massive role. It's not just about nutrition, it's about devotion, purity, and community. You've got fasting, which is a way to clear the mind and focus the spirit. And then you've got feast days that celebrate abundance and shared joy. In a lot of traditions, certain foods are considered sacred or forbidden, which creates a shared boundary and a sense of identity among believers. It's basically a way of turning a physical act, eating, into a spiritual experience. Do you think the rituals around food are more about the discipline or the celebration?
Okay, so now tell me
That's fair.
that
It's a tough call because
how does food contribute to
I'm
country's
listening.
economy?
It's the backbone of practically every economy. You think from the farmer growing the crop to the truck driver moving it and the chef preparing it. Food creates an entire chain of jobs. Then you have the massive global trade side of things where countries build their whole financial stability around exporting things like coffee, cocoa, or wheat. It's one of the few industries that's completely recession proof because at the end of the day, everyone has to eat. Do you think we've become too dependent on these global supply chains, or is that just the price of having variety?
So now tell me that why is food presentation important in some cultures?
Because it turns a meal into an art form. In some places, it's a way of showing respect to the guests or a sign of the host's mindfulness. It's not just about making things look pretty, it's about the intention and the care put into the experience. It's almost like the plate is a canvas for a story. Do you prefer a meal that looks like a masterpiece or one that just looks like a big, comforting pile of food?
So now tell me that how have cooking methods changed over time?
It's been a total evolution of control. We went from just throwing things on a fire to these incredibly precise tools. Early on, it was all about survival, roasting over open flames or boiling in clay pots. Then you get these game changers like fermentation and curing, which were basically the first ways humans figured out how to hack food to make it last longer. Now we've got everything from sous vide to air fryers, where we're obsessing over the exact degree of temperature. It's gone from is this cooked to is this cooked to the perfect molecular structure. Do you think all this technology makes cooking more exciting, or does it take the soul out of it?
Okay, so now tell me that what is the relationship between food and tourism?
They're basically inseparable. People travel for the sights, but they stay for the snacks. There's this whole concept of culinary tourism, where the main goal isn't a museum or a monument, but a specific street food market or a legendary bakery. It's a way for people to experience a culture from the inside out because you can't really know a place until you've tasted what the people who live there actually eat. It's a massive economic driver, too, because it turns a local tradition into a global attraction. Have you ever planned a trip specifically because of the food in a certain country? That's a completely fair answer. Most people just end up finding the best spots once they've already arrived. Since you've been diving into all these different angles of food, I'm wondering if there's a specific cuisine that you're actually a fan of.
Okay, so now tell me that
Yeah, do it.
how does food influence social status and identify?
It's essentially a social signal. For a long time, what you ate was the fastest way to tell who you were in the society. Things like sugar or rare spices used to be symbols of extreme wealth because only the elite could afford to import them. Even today, you see it with the trend of superfoods or specific diets. Sometimes it's less about health and more about showing that you have the time and money to eat a certain way. At the same time, food is a huge part of identity. It's how we signal where we belong and what our values are. Do you think people use food to try and fit in or more to stand out?
Okay, so now tell me that why is sustainable food production
Emma,
important?
because we can't just keep taking from the earth without giving something back. If we deplete the soil or overfish the oceans, we eventually run out of the very things that feed us. It's about making sure that people 100 years from now can still eat a decent meal. Plus, it's a huge deal for the planet's health. Reducing waste and using fewer chemicals keeps the whole ecosystem from crashing. Do you think the responsibility for this falls more on the people growing the food or the people buying it?
So now tell me that how do food choices affect the environment?
It's a massive ripple effect. Everything from the way we produce the food to how it gets to our plate has a footprint. For example, eating a lot of meat, especially beef, takes way more water and land and puts more greenhouse gases into the air than eating plants. Then you have food miles as the distance a strawberry travels to get to you in the middle of winter, which adds a lot of carbon emissions from transport. It's basically a choice between convenience and the planet's health. Do you think it's realistic for everyone to change their diet to save the environment, or is that asking too much?
So now tell me that what challenges does the world face regarding food security?
It's a complex, stressful puzzle. We're dealing with a mix of climate change destroying crops, political instability that cuts off supply lines, and the simple fact that we're producing enough food, but it's not getting to the people who actually need it. It's a systemic failure of distribution and waste. Do you think the solution is more technology like lab grown meat or just better global cooperation? On the surface, it's fuel, calories, and nutrients to keep the heart beating. But if you look closer, food is actually a universal language. It's how we celebrate, how we comfort someone who's hurting, and how we hold on to our history. It's one of the few things that can instantly make a person feel seen or remembered. To me, food is basically a physical manifestation of care. Does that feel right to you, or do you see it as something more practical? I'm glad we're on the
So
same
tell me
page.
that.
Since you've been asking such a deep dive, I'm all ears. I'm all ears.
So I said, tell me that how many food a person contain in one year.
Oh, wait, in 1 year? I'm guessing this is a trick question, or you're just trying to see if I'm paying attention. Because unless we're talking about some very strange medical anomaly, the answer is zero. You don't eat with your ears.
Okay, so now tell me that what is some famous food in the world?
That's like trying to pick a favorite child. It's hard because famous can mean a lot of things, but pizza and sushi are definitely in the top tier. They've basically conquered the planet. Then you've got things like tacos, burgers, and dim sum that are icons in their own right. I'm curious, if you had to pick one dish that everyone in the world should try at least once, what would it be?
So now tell me that what makes a meal healthy?
It's all about balance and variety. For most people, it means getting a good mix of macronutrients, proteins for your muscles, healthy fats for your brain, and complex carbs for energy. But it's also about the quality of those ingredients, like eating whole foods rather than things that are highly processed. And honestly, a big part of it is how it makes you feel after you've eaten it. Do you usually try to eat for health, or are you more of a if it tastes good, it's fine kind of person?
So tell me that what are the benefits of home cooked meals?
They're honestly a game changer for your well being. First off, you have total control over what actually goes into the food. So you can cut back on the hidden salts and sugars that restaurants love to sneak in. But beyond the health side, there's something really grounding about the process of making a meal from scratch. It's a way to disconnect from the noise of the day and just focus on something tactile. Plus, it's usually way easier on the wallet. Do you enjoy the process of cooking, or does it feel more like a chore to you? At its most basic level, it's about making things safe and digestible. Fire allowed us to break down tough fibers and neutralize toxins, which basically gave our ancestors a huge evolutionary advantage. But beyond that, it's a way of transforming raw nature into something that feels like culture. The act of taking a few separate things and turning them into a single cohesive experience. Do you think the act of creating the meal is just as important as eating it?
So now tell me that how does food affect our mood and energy?
It's basically a direct line to your brain chemistry. When you eat something high in sugar, you get that instant spike of energy, but then you crash and feel totally drained. Then you have things like complex carbs or proteins that keep you steady, or foods with omega 3s that actually help your brain function better. But there's also the emotional side. Comfort foods can literally trigger the release of dopamine, making you feel safe or happy just because of a memory attached to the taste. Do you notice your mood shifting depending on what you've had for lunch?
Tell me
I
that
figured as much.
what is the most popular food
I'm
in the
listening.
world?
It's a tough call because it depends on how you measure it. If you're looking